The Eggman has been a topic of much intrigue in the Deltarune community. A mysterious entity that only appears should you go out of your way to find him. Even when you do, only cryptic words leave their mouth that not even the man himself understands, but the words and actions of this entity are very kind. Despite the thumbnail, this isn't really a video discussing who the Eggman is, rather, just a rambling about what I feel is one of the most underrated parts of the game. I can't really explain the surreal and weirdly comforting feeling this whole side quest brings me, but I'll certainly try my best. And for those new here, hi, I'm some schmuck. I like to draw, I like to make music, and I like to animate sometimes. I hope you stick around for that after I do my whole thing here. Alright, let's get into it. By now, I feel that it's obvious that the egg rooms are an embodiment of the repressed trauma that Kris has regarding an incident. An incident perhaps involving deaths, something that they feel guilty for, but if Kris feels guilty about such an incident, why have the egg rooms appear in these dark worlds at all? Wouldn't Kris want to never even try to think about this incident, ever? And yeah, they don't. Should you, the player, never go out of their way to find these egg rooms, but when you do, Kris finally comes face to face with whatever's ailing them in a very abstract way. Deep down, I feel Kris wants to remember, at least this person behind the tree, this one person who helped them at the lowest point of their life. But the emotional pain they experience due to their trauma causes them to repress this whole incident, even if it means forgetting a very positive force that happened to be in their life after said incident. That's how broken Kris has become. Kris to me is a very interesting character, probably one of my favorite protagonists ever. For someone who says absolutely nothing half the time, they have such a beautiful personality that's just allowed to shine through in the tiny sparse moments we don't have control over them. Those moments are really what endeared me to their character, and makes me hope that we get a moment in later chapters that allow us to show that we, the player, care about Kris, and want to help them. But after experiencing the Chapter 5 Egg Room, I'm starting to think that this whole side quest is one of the few opportunities we will get to show that we do at all. That's why it's so important that we can't get all the eggs in the weird route, because we're actively going out of our way to show that we don't care about them by essentially fucking with this poor kid's life. Eggs don't take long to crack under pressure, and in the weird route, we put Kris under so much pressure that even if we did collect those eggs, they'd just crack. Just like our chances of achieving any sort of goodwill with them. Back on topic, at the end of the Chapter 5 Egg Room, should you have all the eggs, the man smiles, waves back at Kris, and walks away, filling them with melancholy. The use of the name Kris and they is rarely used outside of anyone directly talking to Kris themselves. The game usually uses things like, you checked the drawer, you checked the shelf, etc, etc. Which makes it even more curious that only in the Chapter 4 and 5 Egg Rooms, the game makes the clear distinction that Kris is feeling these emotions and doing certain actions. It's even crazier because right before the game states that what Kris is feeling, the game states that you have everything you need if you have all the eggs. It's Kris that gets the feeling they shouldn't look for the Eggman, but they know you won't have such a feeling. I have a suspicion that the tree will return in later chapters, but we're going to have to really go out of our way to find them now. No more hints, no more anything, we just gotta raw dog it. The biggest hint to this, I feel, is that when you don't get all the eggs by Chapter 5, the dialogue changes to the man pointing to the distance towards a tree. Then another, before the trees start to feel like an endless mirror. The man then waves in a way that specifically says, goodbye for now. Before the mirror stuff gets brought up, the tree is brought up twice. How many chapters do we have left? 2. So what do the mirrors represent? The other chapters and save files in which we do not have the egg. All the chances we will have to prove our care for Kris. For only a second, They saw that potential. They saw infinity, and it made their head spin. Again, the goodbye for now is what is making the alarm bells in my head ring the most. And even though it's only said when you don't have the eggs, it still feels extremely important to at least consider. We've been so focused on who's behind the tree that I don't think we've really ever considered why they're there in the grand scheme of the game. Now that we have Chapter 5, we now have a decent enough picture of what's going on with these rooms, I feel. A bit smudgy, still very hard to make something concrete out of, but it's just ever so slightly clearer. And it's very, very interesting to me how the eggs are labeled as an issue in the PlayStation version of Deltarune, seeing as you don't get the achievement of complete X chapter without issue when you collect an egg. With how I feel about what the egg rooms represent, I think the quest itself is labeled as a problem, because if Kris properly comes to terms with the things that happened, then maybe, now seeing us eye to eye and being able to trust us, even if just a little bit, maybe something can change. But maybe it won't either. Roots is a part of the prophecy after all. Maybe that's why Kris doesn't even want to bother looking after this point. Or, I don't know, maybe I'm going crazy, and this really is the end of the Forgotten Man's little egg quest, and if so, I think it lands on a beautifully anticlimactic note. Analyzing the tree in Chapter 5 after the initial dialogue clarifies that Kris still feels a giant weight upon their shoulders, something a simple Easter egg hunt's not gonna fix. Even so, Kris still feels sad about the man potentially not showing up anymore. Is their feeling of not wanting to search for them out of their own guilt? The fear of confronting it? Or maybe this whole secret quest was nothing but a small reprieve from the madness that is the prophecy for Kris. Nothing but a series of small, secluded areas where they could just be by themselves. A small chance for them to reflect, but only if we jump through the hurdles to give them something they didn't know they needed. Something they were actively running from. They try not to think about it too hard while in these areas, but just enough, because they feel powerless no matter what we make them do, positive or negative. I feel they don't give us the options to feed and take care of them half the time because they don't want to even consider the possibility that maybe, just maybe, the thing beyond their comprehension controlling them cares deeply. If they did consider it, it'd just make the horrifically complicated situation they find themselves in to be all that more muddied. It'd drive anyone to madness, so they dehumanize us in the same way we can do back to them. Kris or the game never tells us directly how they're feeling. It's always stated secondhand by Susie or Ralsei, pointing it out like when Kris screams after the Spampton neophyte if we choose yes to being okay. That's why I think it's so damn beautiful, if only for a single room. Kris themselves lets us know via third person speak that they are feeling sad, that they are feeling this horrific weight on their shoulders about the position they find themselves in. They have to keep their unknown promise, but they also cherish their friendship with Susie so much and are hurt knowing that they can't keep up this facade forever. Through these rooms, they are very, very, very slowly letting us in to help. But actions speak louder than words, and if we want Kris to trust us, then we need to color in the actions we make them take with care. Hey, if you're hearing this, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff, ring the bell. God, I hate you gotta say so many damn things to just even get alerted that someone has a channel, but anyways, I don't expect this video to do anything, and it's okay. Don't know if I'll really do more, like, Deltarune stuff. This was very, very spur of the moment. I really like the egg guy, I'm gonna talk to him sort of deal. So, yeah, just subscribe for the art and music. I do have an Airwaves remix coming out. Here's a little snippet. And yeah, thanks for watching. You take care. Have a good day.